Brock Bandy, good to see you. How are you? Hello, Auntie KK. Renee B, where have you been? Hey, everybody, I'm Tommy, and you are on my channel. Hopefully you had a somewhat decent day. Debbie, love and life, good to see you. Glad you're here. Sandy, Wendy, what's happening? So, hey, Kathy, we're going to do a feel-good show. You know what that usually means, right? Should probably have you out of here in about 9 minutes. Oh, you know how I get. I don't do feel-good shows for long periods of time. They just never seem to work out. I get kind of, well, I get Tommy, don't I? Monk, good to see you. Monk. And from Mass. Wouldn't be a show without you. Cindy G. How are you, Cindy G? So, yeah, yesterday I did a show here that was, it touched my heart. It really did. Sandy Rainey, what's happening? Honey, how are you? As promised, I recorded some video from the rehab center today. And we just got to get it edited so that you're not seeing a ton of people's faces, or we got to get permission to make sure that the ones that are in there, you're allowed to see. Mike Bragg, good to see you. How am I tonight? Well, that's the question, isn't it? You know what? It's funny. I go out to this place, and I normally go out very early in the morning. This is the rehab center here in Ecuador. I usually go out early in the morning, but this time we went out in the evening. Never been out there this time of day, and it's just beautiful. I mean, the sun was really hot, but there was a cool breeze. David, good to see you. It was Wendy R. How are you? It was just absolutely beautiful, and I did a show kind of a thing. I go up and I talk to these guys for about 20 minutes or so. But first, Gary, our minister, the guy that helped us find this place, we went over and picked up the pizzas. And I'll tell you what, when we walked inside, it was an intimidating stack of pizzas. Wait until you see the video from it. It was a ridiculous amount of pizza. And as I said yesterday, Johnny Scoville didn't really do the math quite right. So originally we were going to get everybody a couple of slices of pizza. Folks, they tapped out. And by that, I mean, they couldn't eat anymore. They literally just went, yeah, that's it. That's all that we can eat. We started out by putting like 3 huge slices on everybody's plate. Kevin Hawthorne, good to see him. He saw smokes. What's happening? Jamie Palmer. And we passed these plates out to everybody. And it got silent. It was bizarre. It got silent. Like you couldn't hear a thing. And first I got up and I did a presentation and I talked to these guys about sobriety. Kevin Hawthorne from Lakeland, Florida, one of the kind ones. Tommy Bird, good to see you. Been one tough day for this Tommy. You know what? Can we get some ones from my man? Every once in a while, us Tommies need some prayers. But we picked this up and we went out there. When we sent them around, right? You saw some of them amazing. Johnny knows the pizzas, but forgot the exchange rates. I read that, actually. Johnny read it to me. That's a great comment. Forgot the exchange rates on the pizzas. But we sent 3 slices out to everybody. And you're right. They were too busy. There was no sound at all. And then all of a sudden, it started to... the noise started to pick up a little bit when we came around with the second set of plates. Everyone got their backs to us, except for the guys right next to the tables. And we were just going as fast as we could, throwing pizza boxes. And when we got everybody completely fed, we weren't halfway through the pizzas. So we're like, well, send around slices to everybody else. We put 2 more slices of these, they're big slices, on everybody's plate. And I'm not trying to, listen, no super chats, none of that. Because they're just gonna beat on us. Somebody today said, I saw a comment that someone left about you on another channel that said, I come on here and I beg for super chats. To all you haters, go find the clip of film in the 3,000 videos that I've done where I asked for cash, and I'll happily shut this channel down. That's what you've been waiting for all these years. Go find that clip where I asked somebody to hand me a super chat. Go find that one. Give me a timestamp. I'll just pull the plug. Make it really easy on you. You wouldn't even have to make videos anymore. But this isn't a fishing expedition. I just want to tell you how fantastic this was. But when I got up and started talking to these guys, I mentioned last night's show, and I just said, we just started talking about you guys. I said, and they just wanted to participate. People wanted to be a part of giving this, and you could see the looks on their faces. This isn't something that makes sense to these guys. The fact that we go there in the first place doesn't make sense, right? To them. It's just, I think that they wonder sometimes what the heck we're doing. And I was trying to explain to them how much more I get out of this than they get out of it. And but they're never full. These guys don't go to bed with a full stomach. Not there. It just doesn't happen. There's not anybody there that you would call obese. There's not anybody there you wouldn't call thin. And they go and they play soccer and football and they have a really good time in spite of everything that's going on. And it's a lesson. I've worked with a lot of people over the course of the time that I've been doing this. And I said in the little presentation that I did that I got really burned out doing this. And it's funny because this is my happy place. It really is. I said, and I got really burned out doing this. And I don't mean what I'm doing with you right now. I mean trying to help people get sober, right? Because I dealt with people from America, and a lot of them, I don't care how many times that I talk to people, the list of excuses of why they can't quit and why they're addicted to drugs. It's mom's fault. It's dad's fault. This happened when they were 6. The early days of the boat, I used to say, it's on you. Like until you can get to a point where you say, this is on me, right? And sure, bad things happen to all of us, but bad things happen to other people that went to Harvard, right? I chose to go down the path that I did. It's not my mom's fault. It's not my dad's fault. It was my fault. When I ended up in the Gray Bar Motel, my fault. All of those things were. And once that starts, right, you can build from that. Now you're taking some responsibility, and you can start the process of going from there. The other route, see, in the U.S., they want to build a straw man that you can blame all of this on. And I've talked about this a lot of times on the boat, but you'd sit down and they'd say, talk to me about your childhood. Man, I did 9 grams of dope in the last 2 days. Why are we talking about my childhood? And I mean, admittedly, there are things that happened in my childhood. But they'd say, tell me about your parents. And I'd go, it was like a 50s sitcom. Like I ate every meal with my parents. My dad never missed a football game or a swim meet or any of the things that I did. Skiing, taught me all of the sports that I did. We hung out as a family. We spent ridiculous amounts of time together. We all loved one another. And they go, you're not being honest. See, it's so much easier if we can just go, it's your dad's fault. Now it's not my fault. Guilt-free recovery? Woo-hoo-hoo! The problem is you get sober and then you realize that that's bullshit. And when that happens, you get this moment of guilt and realization and, oh my God, it's my fault. And at that point, people tend to relapse. But that's cool because they have a whole industry built for that. They kind of want you to. They're going to walk you through 5 different rehabs before you get to the one that's actually going to try to treat you. It's ugly, but it's true. But talking to these cats really changes kind of my whole opinion. And I didn't come down here to work with guys in a rehab. I came down here to do nothing. I came down here to not do this because it got to the point where it just wasn't fun anymore. And these guys have made it fun. And they've restored my faith in the fact that people can get sober, that they can do it quickly, and that they can do it with smiles on their face. These guys kick dope. And I've done this, right? I don't want to admit how many times I had to go through the detox process. But these guys kick dope. First day, maybe 2, they lay in bed. After that, they're outside building stuff. They're outside playing football. They're outside doing things that just don't make any sense from a drug standpoint. I mean, they really don't. But this was magic to go and talk to these guys today. And it feeds my soul. I'm not kidding you. I get so much more out of this than they do. And their biggest fear is that there is no life after sobriety. Like once you give up dope, if that's all you know, I remember that thought. And I'm sure that anybody in here in recovery remembers that thought. If you spent 20 years drinking or 20 years drugging or 30 years drugging, the prospect of I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm not going to do any dope, you're like, well, all the fun I've ever had has been on dope, right? Everything that I've ever done has been on dope. How the hell am I going to live without it? And watching them come to the realization that the guys that are talking to them, the guys that just showed up with 20 pizzas, did more dope than they did, right? The belief that, and they'll ask questions. They'll say, hey, good to see you, Rocket Queen. Is there, can you be happy after getting sober? And the answer to that question is you can't be freaking happy until you get sober. I mean, you can buy your happiness a gram at a time. You can make yourself look like a freaking pincushion. But if you're going to have any kind of a legitimate life, you've got to go through this process. But I kept it short. I got to the end of it. I said, there's a lot of pizza back there. I don't think they had a clue. We didn't. It was, for a second, I thought, this is like the fish and the loaves of bread. because we just kept handing out pizza, and these guys tapped out. They couldn't eat anymore. That doesn't happen there ever. First of all, dinner would have been rice and a couple of vegetables. There wouldn't have been any meat protein in the dinner. So we ended up with 10 cheese pizzas and 10 pepperoni pizzas, and they were huge. And once the realization that there's a whole nother set of like a second meal was coming, it went from dead silence to giggling. It sounded like a keg party. And the smiles and on people's faces, they hug us every time we go in there. And I don't mean the prison bro hug, you know, where you grab a person's hand and you go and you do, "What's up, brother?" I'm talking about they wrap their arms around you. It's very different than anywhere else. And the first couple of times, it's a little odd. You feel a little, it's just strange because it's something that is so foreign to you. But after you've been doing it for 4 or 5 months, and you really get to know most of these guys. I was looking out today, and there were 5 or 6 faces that are very new there. And I remember those looks coming from guys who light up now when they see us because they know who we are. And guys who are trying to pick up English who come up and go, "What's happening, Tommy?" Funny as hell. Really great guys. Smiles everywhere. And there was nobody in there feeling bad for themselves. There was nobody in there being pissed off. There was no anger. There was no hate. There was no jealousy. No one's looking at what someone else is wearing going, "That guy's got it better than me." There's none of that crap. And it is so much fun. It really is. It was one of those moments that's going to stick with me for a really long time. The joy on these guys' face, and these aren't kids. You know, these are young men. They were acting like kids. They really were. And it was beautiful. And when I said to them, this may not make sense to you, right? Because even the concept of what I do is hard to translate. But they understand that there are people all over the world who are praying for them. And when I said, you know, there was over $100 that came in here yesterday from people that just wanted to participate in making you guys happy. The looks on their faces, it used to be this one. They would do the brown lab thing, like, how the hell could that be? They don't do that anymore. Don't get me wrong. The new people did that. We got the look like, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. But the guys that have known us now the entire time started cheering. I don't know if the world's ever really kicked your ass. I don't know if you've ever really had just like you feel like the entire world is pressing down on top of you at the same time. But that's why we used to say that the opposite of addiction is connection. Because when the world is pressing down on you like that, knowing that somebody cares. And you know what? Let me take that back, because that's not good enough. It's not knowing that somebody cares. People, hold on a second. I got a nasal spray that's supposed to help with these allergies. It smells like the perfume that my grandmother on my dad's side used to wear. And she's no longer here. I'm not picking on her, but it kind of smelled like flowers you left out too long. It's the worst smell in the world. And fortunately, it may smell really bad, but it doesn't work. So I got that going for me. But this is, it really restores my faith in humanity. It really does. We live in a world that people worry so much about the smallest things, and to see connection in the way that we see it out there. If one guy there is having a bad day, then every other guy there wants to know why. Every other guy there wants to lift that person up. And we just don't live in that world anymore. We live in a world where if someone's having a really bad day, let's kick them really hard in the side. Because if we can, for that time we're kicking them, we're going to look like we're a little higher on that rung. If I can trash someone else and drop them one rung on the ladder, well, damn it, I'm standing higher than they are. This isn't that place. It's a place of hope, and it's a place of joy. And if you walked in there the first day and you didn't know what was going on, you'd look around and go, how can this be a place of hope or joy? Right? There's just not enough food here for hope and joy. Where's the Game Boys? You know, where's the Nintendo box? It's fascinating to me. It really is. But this was gorgeous. For real. This was just one of those things that I'll take to the grave. And you know, I was talking to Johnny afterwards, and he said, you know, if I had enough money, we would do this every day. And you couldn't. Eventually, it would just become another thing. It was what the shock was that we just rolled up there with so many pizza boxes that they wouldn't fit in the back of a car. we had to get real creative bringing them there. And hindsight being 2020, we didn't need that many pizzas. But the idea that everybody there knew they were going to eat until they couldn't eat anymore, literally. You want another one? You want another one? Who wants one? There was a guy in the back. I'm not trying to shame the dude, but there was a guy sitting behind everybody else, and he always does. And I think he's a guy that's hungry a lot. He's with on sandwich day. I always try to give him a little something extra. He's a little older than most of the other guys, but today I saw this man eat pizza, and I don't care how long you've been around. It's definitely not an American thing. You've never seen anybody eat pizza this way, but he had 4 slices of pizza stacked one on top of the other, and that's how he was eating them. He was into that pizza. It was amazing. And then we started throwing out bags of potato chips, right? And we had enough soda for everyone and all that. But the first thing that these guys did was take those bags of potato chips and pocket them. There was nobody eating those potato chips because this was enough food to fill their stomach. Now, if you've been in recovery or you've been around recovery or you've heard me talk about recovery enough, there's an acronym, HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, and tired, right? Guilt is the big one. G-HALT is what they should call it, because guilt is another. These are the emotions that cause people to want to relapse. If you got a full belly, especially if you got a full belly of pasta, it knocks the hell out of you, right? It literally knocks the hell out of you. I would bet that entire place is asleep right now. And the guy that runs it is Mother Teresa. There's just no other way to put it. He prayed tonight, and I'm not, this isn't a religious show, I promise you, but he was just thanking God for all of the people who feel the need to go out there and speak to these guys. There's, this country has seen a lot of really odd stuff over the course of the time that it's been in business. And it's seen a lot of people with really light skin show up here and sort of try to reshape this. But they weren't attacking it, right? The communists came, tried to do it. But every time they came, the quality of life would go up a little bit higher. There's no racism here. None. They don't treat anybody different because of their skin color in any way. But they tend to be fascinated by white people that come here. There's sort of a fascination there. And they tend to think that we're just more successful across the board. And that it's a bummer, right? Because, and we try to explain to these people, I said, I'm not trying to bum any of you out. You can't imagine the amount of drugs I've done, right? Especially because when you think about what we were spending on dope, like if I had a $700 a day habit, to keep one of those guys in that rehab, if it's a patient that's paying, they pay less than that a month. Not much, but less than that a month. And I was sticking that in my arm daily. And I'll tell you, at one point today, when I first got there, I went to the bathroom. They got a beautiful bathroom outside. It's absolutely, I mean, it's a bathroom. If you've never seen the video of it, this isn't an outhouse. This looks like any bathroom in a hotel. It's clean as hell. It's tiled, has a shower, toilet. It's just gorgeous. And I went over there, and then like 40 minutes later, I was going back. And when I got back out of it, Johnny said to me, "How do you use the bathroom?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Did you go in there to cry?" But I was sitting there just a little overwhelmed by it. I was overwhelmed by, I thought to myself, for real, man, if I could just have 4 months of my habit, 4 months of what I stuck in my arm, I could dramatically change the life of everybody in there. So it's staggering. But when I said, trust me, I've done more dope than anybody that you guys will ever meet, unless you're talking about my brother, because between the two of us, we were just degenerates. And these guys look at that and go, and they made it, right? They're not getting high, and they smile and they laugh, and they're coming out here and spending money to eat with us and to hang out with us. And then we thank them, because I'm telling you, it's an honor. It's an honor I wish that everybody here had a shot at doing once. To just go out, it would change. It would change a lot, I think, in how you view everything. Like the need for a nicer SUV, might seem a little silly, for real. Smoked 700 in a day. Glad I found my way. So am I, man. Ken, I am so glad that you found your way. And just in case Reese is here, I'm going to throw this one out for laughs. Who the hell's Ken? Sorry, no, we had a long-running joke on that name. But you know what? I am so glad that you found your way. I'm so glad I did. And I'll tell you what, for people who go, well, you're probably better off smoking it than shooting it. Try quitting both ways and tell me which one's harder. It's what they call a stomach addiction, and stomach addictions are just different. When you try to quit heroin from shooting, I'm not saying it's easy, but when you try to quit heroin from smoking, you're going to vomit a hell of a lot more. Your stomach is just going to go, you know what? Let's do some crunches for the next 2 weeks. Your stomach just starts doing this number, and it is miserable. Sure has a way of putting things in perspective, doesn't it? Yeah, because the first time I walked out there, it's a beautiful piece of land, and what they've done with the buildings and everything else is beautiful. But I've been to a crap ton of rehabs, and I don't just mean as a drug addict, although I've been to a lot of rehabs as a drug addict. I've also gone to a lot of rehabs to speak. I've gone to rehabs for kids. I've gone to rehabs for adults. I've put on a lot of speaker meetings at a lot of rehab facilities. And when I got there, it didn't look like one. Roberta, good to see you. Every show was a feel-good show. Well, that's a nice thing to say. I'm not sure if there's any truth to it, but it is a nice thing to say, Roberta. I appreciate you. So when I first went out there and looked at it, as beautiful as it was, I was looking for America. Everywhere I looked, I was looking for America. And I was like, man, I don't think this place is air conditioned, right? And then you see sort of up on the hill behind the rehab center is a cistern, a very large cistern for water. And it's not like they got to haul the water in, but they want pressure to go down to showers and such. So the pump fills the cistern. It's like they do on top of high rises. If it doesn't come from the ground, it's probably not good for you. There's something to be said for that. There really is. But I was looking for America behind every bush, and because there were, the sides of these buildings are open, right? There aren't glass windows in there. They're open windows, and it doesn't much matter when the temperature is 70 degrees all the time. Honestly, even when it's 80, there's always a cool breeze. We're on a peninsula, with ocean on both sides. There's just always kind of a cool breeze with the Coriolis effect. But I keep looking around for what I'm used to. And then they start coming out of the building, and I started looking for Americans in them. And the rehabs in America, people walk out and their eyes are glued to the floor, right? And I don't know whether it's shame or they're just pissed off. I really don't, because I don't really remember being in the rehab. I mean, I remember being in it. I remember everybody around me. I remember what the speaker said. I remember every day. What I mean is, I never got a chance to see what I looked like in one. But when I went out to them, even if I was doing a show that was kind of funny, and I can do that from time to time, more than half of them are usually staring at the ground. And I'm not blaming anybody for that. Rehabilitation kicks the hell out of you. But so does a model that tells you it's not your fault, right? I had I had some rough stuff happen to me as a kid, and I've been more honest about it in the last month or so than I ever have before. It's not an excuse for robbing banks. It's not an excuse for doing dope. It is absolutely a disease. It's a disease, but it's a disease of choice. If I never ever did heroin, it wouldn't matter that I was a heroin addict. Makes sense, right? I mean, for real, there are people walking around with that genetic predisposition to being a junkie, and it doesn't matter what the drug is, but the addiction is in there waiting for them to feed it. But they don't go down that road. They don't experiment. They don't do any of these things. I could have chosen to use words instead of just trying to take dope and make it go away. I could have. I absolutely could have. Maybe not for the first 4 or 5 years, but now that you're out and you're not in the life anymore, you spend a lot of time journaling. I remember every opportunity I had for someone who said, tell me what's really wrong with you. Tell me the one thing that you're not telling people, because there's something there. Q said it. And man, I trusted that dude. But I thought to myself, well, this is the thing I don't talk about. This is the thing that I don't talk about. Everybody's got something they don't talk about, right? If you do, it's eating you alive. You hear me? And I don't care if your life is great. It's supposed to be greater. It's connection. And watching these guys come out, and every single eye looked at us. And when we went there the first time, you know what every eye looked at us like? And don't have to speak the language for this one. They looked and went, these white guys are stopping by to look at us like we're in the zoo. That was the look. When we showed up the following week, that look was a little different. They were like, damn, these guys came back. When we were back there the third week, and I think on the third week, we went 2 days in a row. And it just kind of continued, right? And now when we go out there, we know their names. And there is really no, we really 100%, we know these guys, and we connect with these guys, and we know which ones lost family members, and we know which one has a brother in prison, and you start to hear the stories, and the connection is so much different. And they look for us to be out there. And I don't think we knew at the time what a big deal it was to bring the sandwiches out. And it doesn't cost a whole lot of money to bring the sandwiches out. And it takes Johnny and I about 45 minutes to make 45 or 50 sandwiches. We're getting pretty damn good at it. Kind of assembly line, that rascal. We're getting pretty good at it. But it's a really big deal to them. And now that we kind of understand where the diet is for these guys, this pizza was just like, the sky kind of opened up, and those beautiful sun that comes through the clouds. They paint the picture usually. Our Savior is right in there somewhere. People sometimes call them Jesus clouds, but that's what it was like. And to see grown men act like kids is a beautiful thing. To hear guys giggling, some of them who have been 4 days sober, 9 days sober. But today I saw something that I had never seen before. I saw somebody that I had never seen, right? Now that happens a lot, but I had never seen this guy, but he knew everybody else. He came up and he was, sort of giving hugs and shaking hands. And I thought, oh man, this is a guy that's been here and relapsed. This was a guy that was just coming back to let everybody know he was doing great. I guess he's going to stay there for 1 or 2 days, and then he's going to take off. Did Luigi make the pies? He did not. And if I start talking really quickly like this, it's because I don't want him to be able to understand what I'm saying. No, but for real, when we bought these pizzas, we bought them a day in advance, and we picked up a couple to take home, because you buy one, you get one free, right? And we had to walk by our favorite Italian restaurant carrying pizza boxes. And I said to Johnny, I'm like, oh, bro, his restaurant is all open in the front. Like this is very common in Ecuador. There are bars, so to speak, right? There's like a fence, but you're outside. The wind can blow through and everything else, but they can lock it down, and they're not like pulling anything across it. It's just kind of open. And that means everybody can see you. And I said, oh man, it's like leaving a club with someone that's not your wife, right? This just felt absolutely awful. And Johnny goes, he's going to be bummed out. I said, listen, tell him it's full of money. We didn't want to walk down the Malecon with this much cash. Just tell him the pizza boxes were to disguise cash. Truthfully, he wouldn't care. It would have been very hard for him to make this many pies. He makes artisan pizza, right? The pizza that we had today is smoking pizza, but it is very much American style pizza. What Luigi does is far more like an Italian style, where he's hand tossing every one of those things. He's got a pizza oven outside that he's cooking this in, and yeah, it would have been very hard for him to make that many pizzas. It really would have, but it would have been great. I hear you. Fentanyl is a different animal, though, don't you think? No, I don't. It's the exact same animal. It's far more likely to kill you, but that's because of how the jack wagons that are pressing it into pills are doing it. This is not a drug that is conducive to putting into pills unless you got a big, expensive laboratory where you can do a correct suspension where this amount of dope goes into every single one of those pills. But when you get a bag of fent and then you dump it into all of the chemicals that you're going to use as bonding agents and sugar and polyvinyl chloride and all the stuff that you're going to use to press that thing into a pill, and then you kind of mix it up, you're just not going to get an even distribution. And the word is anything more than 2 milligrams of fentanyl will kill an adult male, right? That's what they say. Now, if you've been a junkie for 25 years, there are guys who are probably doing 10 milligrams of fentanyl, but they built up to that over a long period of time. It's dangerous because one pill might have 1 milligram in it, and the next pill might have 14 milligrams in it. There's no rhyme or reason to the quality control. These aren't laboratories. These things are being pressed in garages. But the addiction itself isn't going to be any different. You're still hitting the MU receptor. You're still doing all of the same things that heroin did, that OxyContin did, that that Norcos or Hydros or any of the drugs that people have been abusing for a really long time. Or you go back far enough, right? They were using opium before Christ was crucified, right? It's been around a long time. So the poppy has been a part of our life forever. The synthetic stuff, and I will say this: it's way too easy to make the synthetic stuff far stronger than it ever needs to be. There's just no reason for a painkiller to be that strong, for real. I mean, morphine or if you're really hurting, fentanyl and alpha fentanyl, the drug that they make in pharmacies, is nothing like the fentanyl on the street. It's like the difference between an amphetamine made by a pharmaceutical company and crystal meth, right? This stuff is bathtub versions of fentanyl, and they call it fentanyl because that's the closest thing to it, right? But it's not alpha fentanyl. Alpha fentanyl is actually a very stable drug. It's an excellent painkiller, and the saddest part of this entire epidemic is the number of people who are 70 who really badly need pain medication because they're living in a world of crap in terms of pain, and they will not touch pain medication because it's fentanyl. And they'll go, you got to give me something other than that. If a doctor in a hospital or a doctor's office says to you, the best to manage your pain would be fentanyl, he's not talking about the Perk 30s, the M30s that are killing people on the street. He's talking about a completely different drug. But people are scared to hell of it. Krista Melinda, good to see you. Glad you're here, KM. It's a very, very different. It's a very different drug, and very often in the U.S., fentanyl, especially for hospice people, it can be in lollipops, it can be in patches, but it's used very often for hospice. And you got these people at the end of their life that don't want to overdose, or and they're saying, I'll just I'll deal with the pain. Or give me a hydrocodone. If a doctor says to you, I'm going to write a script for fentanyl, you don't need hydrocodone, right? Doctors aren't idiots. They realize your level of pain and they know how much it needs to be treated, but it is really bad, done serious damage to alpha fentanyl, a very legitimate painkiller. And listen up, right? If you hear nothing else I say today, there's no sin in treating pain. Catch that? There's absolutely no sin in treating pain. I don't interact with people anymore, right? It's not how I do it anymore. But people used to send me emails all the time, and they would say, I've been on fentanyl for 2 years. The doctor wrote me a prescription for it, and I got to get off of this shit. And I would say to them, okay, we can work on this. What's your prescription? How many are they giving you a day? Hold on one moment. It's a great nose spray. Great nose spray. Works like a freaking charm. They say they're giving me 3 a day. I'd say, so you're getting what? You're getting like 90 pills in your prescription a month? Yeah. So on the last day of the month, do you have any pills left? Yeah, I'll have 3. You don't have a drug problem. If you're taking the medication exactly as it says on the side of the bottle, you've been doing that for a year, you're treating pain, right? You're not using it to treat spiritual pain or emotional pain. In my humble opinion, I'm not a doctor, I'm a junkie. But I've never met a junkie that didn't run out of pills in 14 days. And that's a junkie with some discipline. Most of them will burn through that entire 90 pills in the first 8 days. And then they got to go to the street and supplement it until their next pain management appointment comes up. But if you're taking it exactly how it is in the bottle, I've never met that drug addict, ever. Now, that doesn't mean you're not dependent on the substance. If you take an opiate every day and you take it for 30 to 60 days, trust and believe, if you stop taking it, you're going to get sick. Right? You're gonna go into withdrawal sickness. But what's crazy is people that aren't addicted to the drugs, withdrawal sickness is a pain in the ass. They go through it, they go, oh, it's terrible. I would never want to do that again. because the receptors aren't going, your mom didn't love you, right? You're ugly, you're fat, everyone thinks you're a loser. All your wives left you for the same reason. You're going to end up back in prison. Your receptors push the buttons that they want to push to get you to kill the spiritual and the emotional pain. It's not about the physical pain. Zero Fox, good to see you. Had to jump on when you talked about this. I have had Fent patch on for years. I've had 6 back surgeries, and my next one is on New Year's Eve. And yes, if you have real pain, you would you know what? You would never abuse it. Well, this makes a big difference too, Zero Fox. Here's how it goes. Let's say, and we'll just make some numbers up because this helps people understand this. Let's say your pain level, right, has a quantifiable number. So your back pain level is at a 4, and it isn't. I'm just using this as an example. Let's say you have a 4. If you do, and you take a drug that can treat to a 10, once it treats the 4, you're going to catch a buzz. And that buzz for most people kills now spiritual pain, emotional pain. So if life is pissing you off and everything else, and you take more pain meds than you need for the pain, wow, it's really fantastic. You're not even bummed out about the fact that you're injured anymore, right? Okay, now picture that when there isn't any pain, right? You got no pain at all, and you take that pain meds. It's going to treat the spiritual and the emotional pain, and then it's just going to give you a sense of well-being that you can't beat with a stick. There's a reason that people get addicted to this and can't get off of it. But people who are treating pain, what sucks is they get lumped into the same category as somebody like me. And I've never met a drug addict addicted to an opiate, and I call them junkies. Call myself that as well. But I've never met a junkie that didn't say, you have no idea how bad my medical file is. And they start listing off the surgeries and the broken bones. And I'm not talking about you, Zero Fox. If you can stretch your patches out, if you're doing it the way it is on the bottle, you're in good shape. Hey, Tommy, it's been a while. Great to see you looking so happy. Sure made the right move for you. I did. I absolutely did. And I'll tell you what, though, more than moving to Ecuador, because I was going to move here and learn to surf. I was going to learn, come here and learn kite surfing. It's a place where more people ride motorcycles than anything else. I was going to get a nice bike. I was just going to sort of do the old man retired thing. And the first time we went to the recovery center is we walked back into the top floor apartment that we have on the Malecon. There's French doors, and you walk into it and you can see the ocean. There's a big balcony. And I walked in and I just looked at my brother and I was like, do you feel left up living here? I mean, you see how those guys are living, and you walk into a place that's got a hallway that's like 120 feet long, and you just start feeling like this is just a waste. And I'm not preaching. I swear to God, I'm not. And if you had told me that I'd be saying this even 2 years ago, I said, you're full of shit. And the haters will have a field day with it. That's 2 L's in Scoville. Yeah, this was a good move for me, but it's I thought I was kind of in the last like the wind down, and I'm not. I'm getting cranked up. I'm getting to a place where I still got a lot I can do. I really do, and I'm digging it. I am actually trying a spinal cord stim on December 31st. Can we get some ones for Zero Fox that the spinal cord stim works? You're talking about an electric stimulator, correct? It's like a TENS machine, but they're going to put it into you. I know people that have had a lot of success with that. Archie's mom, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I have high hopes for that. I really do, Zero Fox. I think that's fantastic. Listen to that. How good does that sound? Huh? Zero Fox, how good does that sound? Oops, I got the wrong one. Most of my patients, did I get that? Most of my patients have said it decreases their pain about 70%. Good Lord. If you're living with pain, if they can knock it in half, that would be remarkable. But a 70% drop in pain makes it damn near manageable. Most people that live full-time with pain will tell you, if my pain level was at a 4, I could truck through life with the pain level 4 and not even be bummed out about it, right? If you've lived at a 9 for a couple of decades, and if you've had all the surgeries, A 4 sounds like, a day on the beach. So if that can be, if it even gets close to that, this is going to be a real blessing for our friend. So I'm pulling for you, Zero Fox. It's got to be a tough thing to get a surgery on that day too, right? So try to do it way before the ball drops. We just made your year. Hey, we're pretty excited to hear it too. Did I smoke cigarettes? Yes, I did. And to this day, do I have it on me? I got to quit this thing. I have I vape. Now, by way of full disclosure, in the U.S., I vaped as well, and the vapes that I did in the U.S., I'm not kidding you, must have about 8 times the amount of nicotine in it that these do. And I'm embarrassed to say this, but this I think is more of it's a habit. If there wasn't nicotine in here, I think I would still do it. Do they have vape stores there? I vape also. Yeah, they have vape stores all over the place. They don't have them on the peninsula, but I know the spot. And it's not. It's just as you're coming into Salinas, there's a little store that sells the stuff, and they sell about 4 different kinds. And they have some that are not ice. I don't do ice. There's a lot of things I don't do because research says that it's not a good idea. Are you slowly decreasing the amount? Well, I could lie to you and say that I am because I continually say I'm going to do that. Hey, good to see you. And you made a live. How good is that? By way of full disclosure, I'm using a lot less of this than I was 2 or 3 months ago. But I think that has a lot to do, not as much that I'm like, okay, I'm going to decrease or I'm going to drop the level. I'm going to try to make this one last this long or whatever. When Johnny and I have a lot to do, we don't fart around with this thing nearly as much. But like if I'm doing research, I'll forget that this thing is in the house. But if I sit on the couch to watch a video for research, this thing will be like this, and I'll be. It's just become a habit, and that's kind of it's sad. It really is. But it's also I'm a drug addict, and there's always kind of a oh, that's a beautiful building. Yeah, I know that building. It's in a great part of town too, Debbie. You would that's in a great part of town. Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know that. I know that building. I even know the doorman in that building. Yeah, you're in a perfect place. The Barbara Wade, good to see you. The nice thing about this is we tend to rage. We tend to get pissed. We tend to do things that are unhealthy, and they're habits that last forever. And when you quit doing dope, your life doesn't get perfect. I say this a lot. You just get sober, and then you sort of have to build it. And I took antidepressants for a long time. There's a guy that owns a company called Bulletproof. He makes coffee. He has a theory that most of us should be able to live about 120 to 130 years. And he's written about it extensively. And he's a big advocate for nicotine. Now, nicotine in large quantities, according to medicine, can harden the arteries. It's not good for you. But the delivery method for the nicotine is an issue. If you're lighting something on fire and breathing it into your lungs in 2025, you're an idiot. Sorry. I mean, you like weed, eat it. You know, there's so many ways that you don't have to beat on your lungs nearly as bad. My cousin in Peru has one electronic cigarette, I guess. I'm not sure. Yeah, they're not as prevalent down here as they are in the U.S., but you see them, and you usually see them in the hand of an expat. The people that use nicotine down here still smoke it, but you don't see it very often. You really don't. And maybe because the cigarette packs will scare the hell out of you. They're not like cigarette packs in the United States. They've got these signs all over them that say this thing can kill you, and they'll show you a picture of a nasty looking lung. I have no pain tolerance and got sick from alcohol, antidepressants, any opiates, yuck, or nicotine. But coca leaf drugs, MDMA, doesn't hurt me. You like the stuff that takes you up. That's yeah. Well, you know what? I don't know that I've ever met anybody that has an adverse reaction to a methyl-based drug or to cocaine. I mean, the adverse reaction would be that they continue to do it and it's super, super addicting. But it's not like the other drugs. I know people that have real struggles with, they just can't drink. Like the smallest amounts of it tend to make them sick. By the way, I will be doing a show on beer in the near future because Hey, Carolina, Canada, good to see you. I started to look at beer and what's actually in it, and it'll scare the hell out of you. It really will. Do you realize that the ingredients on the back of a beer bottle don't have to be the same as it is on everything else? They can lie to you. Do I have a sense of what Christmas is like here? Yeah, I saw a guy today riding a scooter that was decorated to look like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It is a lot less consumer. Now, when you go to the mall, there are echoes of what you would see in the U.S. And the mall here, if you just walk through the mall, you wouldn't know you were in a different country. The mall is very much the mall. It's like every other mall. But they're not shoving it down your throat. The nice thing about this stuff is if you don't actually need an antidepressant, but there are times during the day that you start, I don't know, having a tough time. Nicotine doubles your dopamine level, and it does it like that, right? It's a very, very quick doubling of the dopamine. Now, if you do that all day long, that's not such a great thing. But if you do it from time to time, it's not all that bad. Did I see a nativity scene on the Malecone? A big one. There's a huge nativity scene on the Malecone, but it's all the way down. It's like toward the military base, like you're on your way away from to the end of the peninsula. There's a massive nativity scene set right across the street from one of the restaurants I like. I've had pain every single day of my life. Nobody can figure out why. So my pain clinic did biofeedback, breathing through a straw, Qui-Gon, and pool exercises. Meds? Oh no, we don't do that. So have you tried trigger point, acupuncture? And I don't mean acupuncture going to an acupuncturist. When I went to a pain clinic, they used to give me acupuncture needles to go home and do it myself. They would just tell you where the points were. And I actually had some success with that. I could handle the hardest of drugs, but alcohol, not a chance. It sent me off my rocker. You know, I just don't like the alcohol buzz. I love the taste of beer, and two of them are fun. But if I start feeling like I'm not walking right, it's going to sound stupid because a lot of people haven't been addicted to heroin, but I never felt like that on heroin. I didn't do the nod these people do. I was one of those people that looked normal on heroin. I just didn't look normal when I wasn't on heroin. Did you hear they beheaded the baby Jesus in Belgium this year? No, but you know what? We live in a pretty twisted world. And there are people that, you know, right now, there's a war against Christians. And if you think that that's crazy, do a little deep dive and see how many Christians were killed last year. Do you know that they crucified people last year? They took Christians and nailed them to crosses. I'm not bullshitting you. There's sort of a war against people that believe in Christ. Alcohol makes me dizzy, but one good organic beer is yum. I do like the taste of beer. But down here, beer has like 3 ingredients, and that's kind of beautiful. Yeah, last year, Reggae Bubbles, you can look it up. It's terrifying, actually. But there's genocide going on in places because of their religion, and there always has been our entire life. But now it's Christians that are in the crosshair. Nobody should be in the crosshair. Nobody should die for their faith. Let me rephrase that. Nobody should be persecuted for their faith. I think I'd rather die for my faith than anything else. I mean, if you got to go out, that's kind of the way to do it. Be a cool way to meet my maker. Pretty proud of myself. You should be. Chow Yun Smut. Same, alcohol buzz okay for a minute. Too much, I always get sick. And being sloppy, it's not cool. I don't look sloppy. I don't get like that. I just don't like the feeling that I might be losing control. You know? Yeah. Oh no. You know what? Archie's mom says, sort of like me, a functioning addict. When I made enough money, like when I was a public speaker, I couldn't do the amount of dope daily that I was earning. So that enabled me to continue to do it. Functioning? I don't know if that would have been the right word. I mean, I was pretty downright worthless. But I paid the bills. I had a nice car. People looked at me and went, yeah, you know, he's got it figured out. I most assuredly didn't. You know, I had to get on airplanes. As a public speaker, I flew 2 or 3 times a week and carried stupid amounts of dope. And it was always that when I look back on that time, what I remember most about that whole period of my life was it didn't matter how much dope I brought with me. I was going to have somebody mail me more, or I was going to have to go out into the city that I was in and try to find somebody that could buy it for me. And this is at a time where I still had hair. I was getting manicures, right? I was working as a public speaker. And you'd walk into a city and go, hey man, I'm trying to cop heroin. And they'd be like, cop, you know what I mean? Like it was a very difficult thing to pull off. And this was long before they really sort of clamped down on hospitals the way that they have. And we used to go in without IDs and just fake injuries to try to get pills because you had to have it. It was a constant. This is something that I had to have, and not so I could walk around all messed up. I mean, that's what people, in your head, people are like, yeah, but you spent, all of that time just, partying. You're just shooting dope so that you're not sick. I mean, by year 3, you're not getting high anymore. I love that. All of my sons have removed alcohol from their lives in their 30s. I'm so proud of them. And it's changed my behavior too. So inspiring. I love that. Some of my friends were transporting across the U.S. back then too. You're not alone. One had to get it shipped to Japan. Oh yeah, you know what? It gets really scary when you start taking stuff into other countries. It's a really good way to do a lot of time, and you might end up doing time in a country that you don't live in, and that's going to be a terrifying. What's the name of that movie? Midnight. The one about the guy that gets thrown in the prison in Turkey. You guys know what I'm talking about. I read the book too. The book is nothing like the movie. I prefer the book. The truth of it is a little bit different than the movie is, but Midnight Express. Did I get that before any of you did? Yeah, I did. Huh? See that? That's the old gray matter. He lost his job, says Reggae Bubbles. Yeah, it's, well, I lost a lot of them. Midnight Express. See that, Barbara? Wait, beat you by like 5 seconds, man. I'm killing it. I've been clean since 2014, but quite literally was not in recovery mentally and emotionally from 2020 until very recently. I had no substances in my system, but I had tons of work to do on me. Well, that's kind of the story of my life, right? I was off heroin this last time for about 5 years before I even started to catch any traction with my wheels. The first, I would say, first 3 years for real, maybe even 4, but a lot of my first, I just went, not using. I mean, just white knuckling, especially through the holiday season. I was just holding on for dear life. You know what I mean? It wasn't a good experience. But I'll tell you what, man. If you're in the early days of sobriety, and my one piece of advice would be, if you meet people who are in recovery, right? Don't say to them, how did you manage to get 50 years or 20 years or 30 years of sobriety? Because they're going to say to you, well, I took it one day at a time. Say to them, at what point did you start working on the issues that actually made you do drugs? Because the payoff, right, to all of this isn't sobriety. It's figuring out why we had to dull ourselves with a chemical for decades. That's the payoff. Because once you get that, it doesn't mean that everything is going to go, but when things don't go, you're going to understand exactly why they don't. And you can say, I'm acting like an asshole. Do you know why? Because I'm not a 55-year-old guy right now. I'm a 15-year-old kid. I'm going back to where the trauma kind of destroyed me, because that's just what we do. So when you hear, someone that, the line at McDonald's is got 6 cars in it, and they go, good Lord, I got to wait this long, and like veins are popping out of their neck. That's not normal behavior, right? That kind of like instant rage where you go, and usually those people rage on themselves. They're not usually taking it out on other people, but that doesn't mean shit if you happen to be in the room with them, right? You're still doing that, whoa, right? It's still just bumming you the hell out. But people that can go from 0 to 60 in 2.2 seconds, they're going back to when they were a kid. Couldn't get past day 3 for 20 years until very recently when I was totally ready. And there's something to that, right? There is absolutely something to that. Being totally, some of those recovery people are jackwagons. Sadly, a lot of them are. There's a lot of stupid expressions. There's a lot of this, that they puff their chest out, and it becomes a new addiction. I remember sitting with a guy, and he was like, we were sitting around, and he goes, man, I need a meeting. He's like, boy, do I need a meeting. And he started rocking back and forth, and I'm like, wow, are you shitting me? And he's like, no, man, I need a meeting. Like I'm literally jonesing for a meeting. I'm like, I don't know that would be something I was comfortable with. I don't mean that there are times you just need connection, and maybe you need to go down and do that. But to start doing this one, like you're scratching your arm saying you need a meeting, that's not a life I want. It's not. So here's my public service announcement for the end of this show. Connection is the opposite of addiction. Make no mistake. Connection is the opposite of addiction. Renee B asked me about the success rate. Is it higher out here at the rehab center? You wouldn't freaking believe it, right? It's not even close. But their first connection is with God. And I'm not preaching to you which God. You guys know which one I believe in. But their first connection is to God. And when AA worked, when NA worked, you didn't have a bunch of weirdos. Oh, man, I was about to say something nasty. You didn't have a bunch of weirdos filing lawsuits, right, against people going, you can't pull this program in here because it says, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. And then you had assholes saying, you know what? Your higher power can be a doorknob. Doesn't have to be anything, right? Just make it whatever you want. Yeah, when you need dope at 4 o'clock in the morning and everything in your life is shaking like this and you wish you were, ready to hop off of a building, pray to that doorknob and let me know how it works out, right? Let me know the connection you have with that doorknob. Yeah, there are some really stupid people in the rehab community. I'm sorry. And I'm not saying you got to believe in God. I'm not. But if you want to do a 12-step program, you have to believe in a power greater than yourself. Now, if you can't do that, if you just say, no, atheist till death, there's nothing out there. Okay. How about 4 sober people? Ever been in a fist fight with more than one guy? I promise you that's a power greater than yourself. So if you could be somewhere where you had 3 sober people, you could say that's a power greater than myself. That wouldn't work for me. I think it was Plato, right? That said, men are born with a God-shaped void. If you don't fill it with God, you're going to fill it with something. And you can fill it with heroin. You can fill it with cocaine. You can fill it with porn. You can fill it with gambling. You can fill it with this thing, right? You can fill it with people hitting like, people hitting subscribe to the point where you're checking analytics all day long. You know what an addiction is? It's a habit that you do to avoid feelings and emotions. That habit doesn't have to be a chemical. If you take a look at all of the habits of all the people, video gamers, right? People watching porn in mom's basement, about 8 out of 10 people on this planet are addicted to something. You know what's sad? They shit all over those who are addicted to chemicals. Well, they're the dirty, disgusting people. Hold on, don't talk. I just got a text, right? Sorry, I got to check this. Ooh, 6 likes. You can try to fill it with animals. There's connection there. There really is. And it's probably the closest thing that we have on earth to the agape, right, kind of love, that unconditional love, right? Dogs, cats, they love you, and you don't have to necessarily make sure that you're walking on eggshells or doing everything you can to make sure that, you're in line with their feelings. That it's kind of unconditional, right? Doorknobs are an unconditional love, I promise you. Promise you. All right, people, I'm Tommy. You realize that I made it an hour and I didn't crap on anybody? You know what I mean? I didn't, drop any of those words that offend the hell out of people. When I said you had all these people dropping lawsuits, I didn't say most of them have blue hair or any of those weird things. I said nothing like that. I've been nothing but kind all day long. Must have been the rehab. To everybody that kicked in yesterday, it warmed my heart. It really did, and it touched the hearts of the guys up there at the rehab center. I'm really. I'm happy to be able to be talking about this stuff. I'll be talking about it more. We're in that time of the year. I will see all of you, I hope, tomorrow. Between now and then, do me a favor. Take a look at yourself, right? Who are you? What are you currently doing? What things are you doing that are dragging you down that might not have anything to do with an addiction? And if you don't think you're addicted, take out a notebook, right? And write down what you do for the 12 hours, right, during the day. Do that for a couple of days and see where you spend your time. And I'll tell you what you're addicted to. I'm Tommy. We'll catch you on the next one. Good night, everybody, and God bless.